like to know how much cash is in your home? Would you like to know what that cash could do for you? Would you like to figure out how to pay off your home faster? Would you like to set up a private search where no one will try to bug you or sell you anything when you're searching for another home? I got an app for that. The wealth building app for your home. HomeBot. It's free. Click here. Welcome to the fun and mentals of real estate. I'm your host, Angela Dillmon, here with Keller Williams Realty Chesterfield in St. Louis, Missouri. And this is my co-host, Glen Calvin.
Yeah, Glen Calvin with Guild Mortgage right here in Chesterfield. And good topic today. I'm excited.
Yeah, all right. So the question of the day really was do you remember the question of the day from last week?
I remember how many bad decisions have I made in the last year? Is that the question?
No, Glen. Okay, so that's the fun part here with Glen. So the question last week was, how many decisions do you make in a day? Do you remember the answer?
It was like 35,000
35,000. Glen thought it was a couple hundred,
right.
But it was way more. So the reason we're bringing this up again today is we're talking about new construction. Right. Living your dream lifestyle might require you building a new home, right? And so the fun part is you get all the things that you want in a house. You get to pick your floor plan out, your flooring, your counters, your cabinets, your lighting. The mental part is the 35,000 decisions you make when you build.
Yeah,
and so
right.
There's a couple of different ways to buy new construction. Today we're going to talk about buying in a subdivision. So you have a builder, he's got certain lots, he offers 5 floor plans, different fronts on them, we call them elevations. So, it can be the same floor plan, but look a little bit different on the outside. And he bought all the ground. He's got everything set up for you. And you're going to go in and you're going to pick out a floor plan, and then you're going to go visit their design center and make your 35,000 decisions and all the fun stuff that you get to do. But Glen, what kind of loans can I get? I mean, I typically go get a loan today for a house that's already existing, right, and you lock me in for 30 or 60 days, but this is not a 30 or 60 day process. So the way this works is you go make an offer, then you got to get your loan set up, and once your loan gets approved and everything and you go pick your colors, then the builder can go apply for a permit and break ground. So this can be a 4 to 6 month process. Yeah, sometimes 9 months with some of the builders.
Occasionally they might have 1 or 2, they call them spec homes if they're building a little further along.
Sure.
But most of the time you're going to go pick out the lot, do all the work that you said. Now, we're going to be buying that home when it's complete from the builder. So we don't have to go, this is a little misconception, we don't have to go to the bank and get a construction loan.
Right,
when
the
you're
builder's
going to buy a house,
doing
the builder's doing all that for you.
Yeah, he's doing all
So what you've got to do, and they're going to require a deposit or a down payment.
Sure.
And
so what kind of loan can I get?
Right, so you can get any kind of loan. You can get an FHA loan, you can get a VA loan, you can get a conventional loan. If it's out, we talked last week, out far enough, you can get a USDA loan. All loans are possible there. The difference is that when it's not a spec home is we got to talk about that time that it's taken to build. And it's different now since we're coming out of the pandemic. It seems like they used to be able to build them in 4 or 5 months. Now it seems like they're taking 6 months, 8 months. I had one where people waited in line to get in this development, and they didn't really even have the streets done when they sold the thing out, and it took them a little over a year.
Sure.
So what you have to do...
So what do you do on the loan then? Because I can't lock my rate in today, can I?
You can, yes. Guild is very fortunate, and not all lenders offer this, but we do, a long-term lock-in where you pay a certain fee or a deposit, and here it gets refunded, and then you lock that loan in for 180 days, and typically...
6 months?
Yes. Well, we can actually go out 270 days.
Wow.
And what we're going to say is here's today's rate. We're going to put a little hedge on top of that to protect us from it going up super high, but it's just small. Then here's the benefit. Between the 30th day and the 15th day prior to closing, if the rates are lower, you can float that down and lock in.
Oh my gosh, best of both worlds.
Yes.
Now, when you go to a builder, this is what you need to know. When you go to a builder, sometimes they have a lender that they actually own part of. They actually own part of a title company. They have all these little joint ventures with everybody along the way here. And they may have a program that they offer you that looks good, but they can't lock you for 270 days. And you really need some rate protection, because right now they're like, hey, rates might float down, but they're also kind of floating up on a daily average too. You really don't know what rates are going to do this year.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
So it really does, it makes sense to protect yourself. The other thing, it's a little bit different on buying a new home as far as the financing goes, in that you have to qualify for that loan twice. So I've got to get you qualified and approved the day that you go in, or after you write the contract when they're going to start. We've got to send them a loan commitment. Now they've got to build that house, and 30 days, 21 days before closing, you've got to get reapproved.
You got to reapprove.
So there's some things you can't do when you build it.
Oh, what can't they do?
Can't get mad and quit your job.
Don't quit
without
your
another job, right? You
Okay.
can't switch from being salaried or hourly to being paid
like self-employed.
Self-employed,
Right,
yes.
like, oh.
Or going to 1099. You really need to stay with the W-2. You need to make sure that if you're going to take on any new debt, that you talk to the lender first. It's okay if your car breaks down during that process and you have to buy another car. It's okay if you have to have some other financing, as long as you qualify.
As long
so you're going to make sure
enough.
that you have that conversation
That's right.
and look at those numbers. And the one that trips most people up that they don't realize, when I go in and I'm buying a washer and dryer appliance and it's 90 days same as cash or 1 year free financing, the lender's going to look at that as an obligation and a loan. So you're going to have to make sure that you're qualified for that, even if there isn't a payment.
There you go. So Guild has a special long-term rate program for new construction.
Great program.
All right, the other thing you need to know about builders is they do have a sales agent that sits on their displays. Now, that agent works for the builder, plain and simple. Now, most subdivisions, not all, but most, try to keep you in the box of just the choices that they want you to make, and they really don't like going out of the box too much. There's very few builders who will move walls and do things for you when you're asking. Now, when you put earnest money down, that's negotiable. They'll say, "Hey, I want 10%."
Yes.
Okay, but if you're only putting 3% down because you're getting, or 3.5% down because you're getting this FHA loan, or 0 down because you're getting a VA, right? We can negotiate that down payment that they want up front. The builder takes your earnest money or your down payment and puts it in their bank account and uses it to build those homes in that subdivision. It is a little bit at risk. It needs to be a reputable builder, and you need to negotiate as little as possible when you're giving the builder money, because that's what's happening. It's not sitting in some separate escrow account somewhere. Not happening. So this
I don't want to oversimplify, but a lot of people get tripped on this. That deposit that you make, that goes towards your down payment.
Yes, goes towards your down payment, the one that
so
you
you
give
don't
the builder.
need you don't need earnest money and money for the down payment. The earnest money is
Right.
going to count towards that. Down
Right.
payment.
Good point. Good point. So, so you need somebody who's representing you. They don't like it as much when you bring in your realtor, but when you're going to go look at new construction, bring your realtor with you up front. Allow them to go online and register you. Because if you go in there and sign paperwork or just fill out a form and you didn't say that you had an agent, a lot of the builders won't let you have representation. Can you believe that? No, can't have anybody helping you. No. Okay, so that's the one thing that you need to know. You need to get represented before you go. Now, because there's so many things to negotiate. The placement of the house on the lot. They're going to tell you where that house is going to go. They're going to give you this little plot plan. Now, the thing about that is, I have negotiated many times to say, look, I know you guys got to pick out where it goes and all the things, but I want to be happy with it. So I would like to have the right to go, no, I'd like to move to a different lot. Okay, so those things. How the lot's going to grade out is humongous. So we have to walk it with a super, where you need to be understanding that when you get that yard that you thought was going to be this, it's not that, right? And this is what's happening right now, because I don't know, I guess it's MSD wants the runoff in the subdivisions to be really, really, really good. And a lot of people's yards are just really getting that chop on them. And so you really need to know how all this is going to grade out and how it's all going to look in the end. And you need somebody helping you with that and pushing on the builder for sure, right? And then there's all the things you get to pick out, which is fun, but sometimes you're like, I would really like to move this wall, or I would really like to make sure the furnace and the water heater get put here because I want to finish this basement out. So looking at your future plans, also, we have to push on the builder sometimes and go, hey, you know what, your replacement of that furnace and water heater stink, because I want to do this with my basement and I can't if you do that. Please go back to the drawing board and tell me where else you can put this, right? And so figuring out what you want to do with your property or your house long term when you have new construction is also something that we help you think through, so that you don't regret, oh, I should have done that, too late now. Right?
Another point I like to bring up too is it's okay to push yourself a little bit with the down payment, whatever, because for those first 4, 5, 6 years, everything is brand new.
Mm-hmm.
It's a new roof, it's a new refrigerator, new appliances, new furnace, new air conditioning.
Right.
So you're not going to have a lot of upkeep and maintenance
right.
in the first few years. That's why I've always been a big proponent of new construction. It seems like that the downfall right now is just taking them a little bit longer. I don't know if it's a shortage of labor, it's taking longer, but new construction is certainly a great option.
Yep.
Like what you said about somebody representing you, it makes sense to me. Typically in this kind of builder, once you've got that contract done and they started moving, they don't like making a lot of changes.
No, they typically
because
don't.
It's going to slow them down.
Right. And so you need somebody representing you, because there's a lot to new construction. And take your realtor with you. Call your realtor and let them know that you're interested in a certain subdivision, so that they can register you and go with you. That's really a big tip. Otherwise, it gets really hard.
And they don't want to be right near the end of the process and somebody brings a real estate agent. And it's frustrating for them too.
Right.
So it's just common sense, and I think it's important to have somebody guiding. I think it's important too to choose a lender that's familiar with new construction.
Yes.
If somebody that just does debt consolidation, or works more in urban and without doing a lot of new construction, isn't going to be aware to make sure that we train you or coach you not to quit your job like we talked about earlier, and make sure that you maintain the status quo during the building of that house.
Right. So if you'd like a list of new construction and a list of builders, really too, and there's builders all over the place. There's many of them right now. Some are good, some are not so good. And so we can help you with that too, is evaluating a builder. So if you would like a list on new construction, like to talk about the ins and outs of that, then just give us a text.
Yeah, we got some information too on the long-term lock and how it works.
Yeah, new construction, 314-277-7713. Just text me new construction and we'll have a conversation about it. Next week, we're going to talk about new construction, picking out your own ground, choosing your own builder. Whole nother process. Talk about that next week. Join us then.
Thanks.